Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another live stream of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, February the 13th, I believe. And right now I'm migrating my old cell phone, a Samsung Galaxy S7 to an S9. So that means we're going to be pretty much chatless today. So if anybody types in the chat and I don't respond, which I probably won't, apologies for that. This will just be a one-time thing. We are, I believe, are on the last day in which we can get this dust and gold combo, and we have a special Tavern Brawl pack if we play the Tavern Brawl 3 times. So for the 3 different accounts today, we're going to spend a lot of time playing Tavern Brawls, potentially only playing Tavern Brawls.
Your king requests your presence in the Tavern Brawl.
So what this is, as I understand it, are some special Rastakhan Tavern Brawl decks of champions.
Welcome to the Brawl of Champions.
So we might get to play everything.
And lead them to glory.
So we'll just, like, you get a regular pack if you win, so we still need to get 1 victory. But we're going to have 3 tries for this. So I'll do this top 3 row on the Americans account, this middle 3 row on the European account, and the bottom 3 row on the Asian account, and we should be good. And it's not too difficult. We don't have to pick any cards or anything. The only real problem will be winning. Now, it gave me a little bit of a hint that maybe this is, if you win, you would move up in some kind of tournament, but I don't know how that would really work if that's true. Where we are right now, I wonder if we're going to start with just 1 mana too, because in the Rastakhan's Rumble, a lot of times it felt like you were starting with 2 or 3 mana. Alright, what does this guy do? Your other minions have overkill. This can attack again. So if I were to kill this with overkill, it would be able to attack again and gain 5 health, 5 attack, which would be amazing. Unlikely to actually happen, but amazing nonetheless. Otherwise this card would be pretty useless. Although I don't know how this really would get overkill at all, come to think of it. Let's see, what is this? Whenever you cast a spell, add a random priest spell to your hand. So let's try and get rid of that as quickly as possible. And the S9 is already somewhat glitching. Wow. The lock screen is just overlaid the number 7 for 3:57 on the clock with the number 8. Ridiculous. I guess I kind of need to play this, but there's nothing else that needs to be done. So the big news is, and I'm not sure we're going to get any straight details, inherently you can't go to people who either work right now for Activision Blizzard or who were fired yesterday or even a few days ago and pull them and get straight numbers. But the financial report from what I've here is that around 800 people are being fired from Activision Blizzard to make room, I think, to hire other people at a lower price to not make really new games, but just kind of make DLC content that makes it that they can microtransact on you, on the consumer. So there is a very understandable amount of hate for the management, both from the game production people and from just people, video game consumers and players also, for them being just not a good boss. I wouldn't be surprised if the people getting laid off come in little waves. I mean, it takes time to fill out the paperwork. It takes time to bring people in and say you're getting fired. There are some tricks even a employed person can do to avoid getting fired for a little bit, because they don't want to fire you over the phone. They don't want to give you that opportunity to potentially hang up on them. So they want to get you in the office. They want to get you in the meeting. If you just call in sick for a couple of days, you can put it off for a couple of days, but eventually they'll just call it job abandonment too. So you can only really do that for like maybe 2 days, and what's it really doing other than screwing with your immediate boss's time, which more than likely in most cases your immediate boss isn't really even the one that's trying to fire you, at least in this scenario. In this scenario, it's clearly the CEO that's doing it. So whenever there's large amounts of layoffs, you have this case where a lot of other video game companies come out and say, hey, we're hiring. Now, inherently, this is a kind of bad thing because it's cronyism. Like, these companies sometimes are not hiring, and then all of a sudden they say they are hiring. Also, even if they were always hiring and they're just making it known at this point that to the people who lost their job that they have been hiring for a while, it still implies a definite bias to want to hire people who are already in the video game industry and not hire people based on their actual skills or merit. Which, yeah, that's just cronyism. And as much as the video game mainstream media news press needs a lesson in ethics, I think the video game development industry also needs a lesson in ethics too. And if they want equality, they should treat everybody equally, and not imply that they would be more than willing to overlook somebody who just graduated from a computer programming college and has their bachelor's or their master's, but has no like real experience working in the industry. And inherently, I guess, requiring work experience in any job is some form of slight cronyism. Like, you should be hiring the people who are good. Now, how does somebody who got out of college prove that they're good at programming? Well, they should all have a portfolio. They should all have a list of things. Here's what I made. Take a look at it. Here's my code. Here's my here's the list of games I've worked on before. If you were to take a random Activision Blizzard employee and say, look at their resume, what is that really going to say? Did they work on Heroes of the Storm and that's it? Did they work on Overwatch and that's it? What part of Heroes of the Storm or Overwatch did they work on? Did they potentially only like make weapon skins in World of Warcraft or weapon skins in Destiny? It's illogical to say if 800 people exactly were fired that all 800 of them are the best of the best in what they do and should be hired back. And it's not because they got fired, it's just like Activision Blizzard hasn't been making the best games ever. It's not up there with CD Projekt Red, where I think just having worked at CD Projekt Red potentially gives you an air of prestige.
Zentimo versus Talonji.
Like, I really wouldn't want to hire the person who thought it was a good idea to give away card backs every month on Hearthstone. I think that's a bad idea. I wouldn't want to hire the person who is in charge of dealing with the big time streamers on Hearthstone and decided to ban like Disguised Toast and then convince Disguised Toast to not really be about Hearthstone anymore. Like, that was bad. That was bad for Hearthstone in general. And so far, I follow Second Dinner, the Ben Broad company. I didn't see them tweet that they were hiring, and I bet they aren't, because I bet they don't have any extra spells at 2 less. Okay, I bet they don't have any extra room, quite frankly. The other bit of that financial report is that Blizzard specifically has no plans for any major game in 2019, which kind of is fine with me. It's like, what I want from Blizzard, I basically want nothing from Activision, and what I would want from Blizzard is some basic things, like remaster all your old games, get them running on PC and looking good. Bring back the original Warcraft, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3. Bring back that old Warcraft point-and-click adventure game. Get that running and being sold. Maintain what you've got with Overwatch. Maintain what you've got and maybe slightly improve Hearthstone. And that's kind of it. Just like StarCraft, remaster StarCraft 2, make another StarCraft, remaster Diablo 2, make those nice looking. Maybe make a new StarCraft, maybe make a new Warcraft, maybe make a new Diablo game. You really can't make Overwatch 2, you really can't make Hearthstone 2. Heroes of the Storm is dead, so I don't think anybody really cares to see any more of that. But unless Blizzard could create a new tentpole property, which they kind of can't ever as long as they're part of Activision, because any new tentpole property is going to be an Activision tentpole property almost certainly, and even in that case where you saw with Destiny, it was really a Bungie property that Activision was publishing, is what it felt like, at least. So there's definitely kind of nothing I want from either one of these companies. Now, how does that affect me? Probably not a lot, until they shut down, until that last day when they shut down Hearthstone, or more likely until I find some new slow-paced card game or slow-paced game that I can play and have a reason to play every 3 days. Streams are going to stay the same. It probably wouldn't be a terrible move, however, in all fairness, if I did only stream 1 day a week because of the game. It would be a longer stream, certainly, with all the news and games that come out, and but when you compare what I'm doing 3 days a week to, say, what like the Giant Beastcast or Giant Bombcast is doing, that's once a week sounds perfectly fine to me. I don't think we'd go less than a week. It would give me a lot more time to pre-record other content. I also want to shout out, I've got a new follower on my channel who is watching some of my older stuff, and he is commenting on everything quite a lot, and I'm replying, and he's commenting and replying back to me. So he's doing God's work, as the saying goes, because anytime I get a comment, anytime anybody says anything on any of those videos, even if he's just watching the videos and giving it views, that is great. That was the plan all along with this channel in particular, and with YouTube, you never know, your channel could get deleted tomorrow for some arbitrary stupid reason. But the plan originally was for my channel to be the self-sustaining. I've got so many videos, there's something here you want to watch. People will always go back and look at these old videos, and it would theoretically at some point make a little bit of money. So even if I took a month off, I could still maybe make a few bucks without having to make new content. Of course, my channel is nowhere close to that. It's not making any money until it gets 1,000 subscribers, and as soon as I get to that point, I imagine everything will change. Let's see. Discover a spell. I don't have anything here. So draw 2 cards to start with. Play this. Do this. Alright. So this would be 3 less, which I think means kinda nothing. So we'll try to do this one. We can do this to discover another spell, and we can do this, and we can do this, and we can do this, we can do this. So I got all the spell damage totems, but that's it. So yeah, as far as the Activision Blizzard layoffs, we may have some news about it, we may not. Really, there's not a lot to say, really. Of course, on Monday I was saying let's wait and see if it even happens. Now I'm saying there's not a lot to say about it, so it really feels like I'm downplaying it. But there's kind of, it's newsworthy. It's certainly a lot more newsworthy than most things that are said by video games journalists. But where I am not equipped to report on this would be finding somebody who is laid off, finding a good story, interviewing people, interviewing the experience. I saw stories that they saw people in the parking lot crying. I heard a story that one person asked their friend who worked at Blizzard and they didn't know anything about it. So yeah, this is all going to be just really abrupt. Like I said on Monday, I really don't think if you're gonna lay off people that it helps to do it abruptly. Maybe in some ways it does, but you're talking professional people, not who you would hope are not likely to just ransack your offices and steal everything as quickly as soon as you tell them that they're laid off. You'd want to give people time. You'd want to give people time to find new jobs. You'd want to potentially see if you could convince some of them to take other jobs so you don't have to pay on insurance claims. In California in particular, let's just squelch this person. There's not a good system here that would put a copy of an enemy minion into your hand. Here you go. There you go, I got your shrine. How you like that? Random pre-spells now are mine. Do I want to attack? The other minions have stealth, death rattle, give your minions +2 attack. End turn. Alright. So he can't even kill the shrine. Hmm. So yeah, let's just approach the other news and see what we're gonna cover here. There was another story. I don't think I have a story on here. Marshmallow, the DJ that wears the marshmallow head, is I guess what he is, did this Fortnite event, and then he immediately got randomly banned by Twitch for some reason, and so now he is claiming he will never use Twitch until they change their ridiculous policies of the way they oddly half enforce their policies on things. There we go. Oh man, I don't even lose stealth, do I? Ooh, this is wonderful. So I can just I could have attacked last turn. Didn't realize that was the case. Alright. Attacks. Summon a 1/1 pirate. After hero attacks, summon a 1/1 pirate. Alright, so let's just do this. And do this. And then we can just do this. There we go. So yeah, Twitch has been inconsistent in its enforcement of its policies, very much so. There's a clear lack of just corporate structure in Twitch, and you would have thought Amazon would have come in and fixed that, but clearly they haven't done that lately. In fact, Amazon came out with this own like service called Amazon Live that is like a QVC channel where people who make products and sell products can just showcase their products. Let's see. After you cast the spell. See, this one really wouldn't need to gain stealth. Let's go ahead and attack here, and attack this. There we go. Yeah, so Twitch has never been part of my idea. It never seemed like on Twitch that a significant amount of people are consistently making a lot of money. It seems like a 0.001% of people streaming are making a lot of money, and that's it. Which is what YouTube is trying to be, but fortunately there's enough pushback and that it has not actually become that. Well, last thing we want is Will Smith, the rapper, to be taking all the money, or The Rock taking all the money, or even Jack Black on his gaming channel taking all the views and money. Like, these famous people should frankly be asked to either not monetize at all, or shout out, just consistently shout out or push small creators to help there. There's some other news though. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Devs refute Sony's claim that it is, quote, open for business with cross-play platform play. Quote, we were told in no uncertain terms that it was not going to happen, in quotes, says Chucklefish CEO. So Sony Entertainment Interactive has a new guy in charge. He's the guy who basically made a lot of bad decisions in the past, so things again are not looking great for Sony. And I don't know if that makes me sound like an Xbox fanboy or a PC fanboy or a Nintendo fanboy. I'm just trying to be as objective as I possibly can. Sony's screwing up bad in its decisions of late in the past couple of years. So in one of the statements, and I guess I could actually read it here, Sony in general said that they were open for business for cross-play platform, but then they were also saying privately that you had to talk to your representative. So people went and talked to their representative, and guess what? They got the answer no, which does not mean open for business.
It's a deal.
That's the opposite of open for business. That's closed for business.
Scurvy dog.
So, Sean Layden said the company was, quote, open for business for cross-play platform. So, yeah. Sony has been making these claims for a long time that they couldn't have a crossplay for many different reasons, but really it was just because for a while there, and even maybe now compared to the Xbox One only, and if you exclude Nintendo, the PlayStation 4 was the leader.
Avenge me.
Okay, so I just won there.
Be sure to come back next week for a new challenge.
So we come back next week, and I guess you're allowed probably to come back next week even if you hadn't won. Like, I'm assuming next week's Tavern Brawl is not exclusive to people who won this week's Tavern Brawl. That would be weird. So these are the newest cards, so there's a high chance that there's something in here I don't have. Unfortunately, getting a bunch of commons and 2 rares is not something that particularly interests me. So let's see if... Let's come over here and see how much of this gets disenchanted. 4 out of 5. Which means we need to come over here and type new. I don't even have my keyboard in the place I normally do have it. And everything is all in the wrong place right now. That's not new. And I guess this is new. So we got a second one of these. Yay. That's the level of enthusiasm I can muster for Hearthstone. It's like, yay, we got 1 rare card new. Here's an epic. Now, I don't think I'm missing any epics on my main account. Also, by the way, I'm not playing the corrupted card back anymore, so... so if there are people out there that still want that corrupted card back, you might have a little bit of difficulty. Yeah, all 5 of those cards are disenchanted to 135 dust. So that's a decent amount of dust, but nothing great. That's actually kind of surprising. So you only get 100 dust for disenchanting an epic? Let's see. See if we can find something. This would disenchant only for 400 dust. Man. Yeah. I would definitely not want to hire the person who was in charge of deciding how greedy Hearthstone was. Because it is super greedy. Zoo Warlock is what we're kind of playing. I don't know if it really is the best deck to play or not. Next we have a article from GameIndustry.biz. PS3 was, quote, a stark moment of hubris, says Layden. Sony Interactive Entertainment. It is Interactive Entertainment. It seems like it, in my mind, it keeps bouncing back and forth between Entertainment Interactive and Interactive Entertainment. Anyways, the chair reflects on the last generation's missteps and how the company changed course for the PS4. They kind of had to change course, and where I would say the PS4 failed, and this is where you have to get to just speculation purely, is the Switch was a good year after the PS4 at least, if not 2 years or even 3. There was plenty of time for Sony to suck up all the oxygen in the room for everybody who maybe wanted to make a kids game or a Nintendo style game whatsoever. The fact that there were so many PC indie devs that were immediately willing to jump to the Switch as soon as Nintendo had friendly policies. Like, Nintendo hasn't really done a great job of making first-party title games and flooding the market with those first-party title games for the Switch. They've built their library on the backs of third-party developers. Third-party developers who have, even before Sony's new censorship policy, clearly Sony has not been treating their third-party developers so well that they gained any loyalty from them. All I need to do right now is play cards and draw cards, but I'd also like to win. The lack of PS3 backwards compatibility is also a problem. So when you look at how the PlayStation 3 kind of abandoned all the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 library, and then how the PlayStation 4 then abandoned all the PlayStation 3 library, you've got more games than you would care to have that are kind of doomed to... Oh, darn it, that's not a demon. I keep doing that, don't I? I've done that like twice. So yeah, there's just no consistency with backward compatibility, which is something you need to sell your console on, even if people really don't go back and play the game, which seems to be about the truth of it. Like, in this article, he's pointing to like Horizon Zero Dawn as a big exclusive, and Bloodborne and God of War, but I don't think any of those are actually from Sony. In fact, I'm not sure Sony has released any software in quite a while. That would be something I'd have to think about, is just like, what is a first-party Sony title that isn't just published by Sony, but is actually made by Sony? Why aren't they doing something like Square Enix or Capcom or Konami as a Japanese company? Why don't they have an RPG that comes out? Why don't they have something? Yeah, I still come from a perspective that I feel like the console developers should make some titles just to, if for no reason, as examples to what other third-party developers could do with the console. Speaking of Japanese game developers, Nintendo's going to have a Nintendo Direct. That'll be interesting, I suppose, to talk about on Friday. I heard rumor of a 2D Zelda game. Now, if that doesn't come out on cell phones then it kind of has to come out on the Switch unless they're just gonna really quickly release one final, like possibly one final 3DS game. I probably should have killed one of these with this guy. Yeah, I don't know what else you could do if you're going to make a 2D Zelda game. And it does open up an interesting thought, certainly. Where are the 2D Zelda games? Where are the 2D Metroid games? Where are those games that were on portable consoles before? Where are those going to be now that the Switch is the one and only console and it is portable?
Your soul is mine.
Just keep on drawing cards. I'm gonna lose, but at least I'll get the daily quest done. Gamma Sutra has a, I guess this is an editorial is what you call it. 7 Japanese RPG games developers should study. The list is Valkyrie Profile 2, Final Fantasy 4, Valkyrie Chronicles, Disgaea, Final Fantasy Tactics, Steambot Chronicles, and Cyberdoll. The last 2 of these I've not heard of at all. So yeah, this is an opinion piece, and maybe there are systems in these RPGs, and maybe the person who wrote this this article has a lot of experience with RPGs, so she might be right. It's just kind of hard to tell.
Free me.
Well, this should be good. I don't want to draw any more cards. I'd like to win. I don't know how many games we're gonna have here that we actually look at, but we have one here, so let's do the web peek. We have Super Jigsaw Puzzle Anime Reloaded, which this is your standard. We have the basic concept and framework of a game of jigsaw pieces, and then we've got some anime pictures, whether they include nudity or not. I don't think this one does. That we're selling for $5.39. It has like 80 puzzles, which is not a great amount considering it says actually 30 different puzzles. Yeah, that's not really worth a lot. A lot of times these jigsaw puzzle games also have a small amount of pieces instead of being a large amount of pieces. And there is something to be said that I've never seen as a mini game or a side game anybody have to do a jigsaw puzzle. So there's a decent amount of people, I think, out there that don't want to do jigsaw puzzles. And that's another thing to be aware of, is you're limiting your audience and to a niche. Let's keep on doing all the damage. I think we might be able to win here. So yeah, a game like this is too expensive, it's too generic. I would literally have nothing to say after about 5 minutes of coverage. And I used to like doing jigsaw puzzles, but eventually I just considered myself retired from it. It got so easy, and there's just like nothing more that you can do about it. There we go, victory. So let's see if that... No. 25 turns, 25 cards. We've done all the daily quests, that's what we needed to do. So it's now time to switch over to the European account. I'm pretty sure what we're going to do here is just make one stream today too, because my phone is transferring over. I really don't have a clock in front of me, so trying to break it up and keep that in mind is very difficult. I myself, like so many other kids, have no clue how much time has been spent when playing a video game. It could be 5 minutes, it could be an hour.
Your king requests your presence in the tavern brawl.
20 spells might be a little bit harder, but not too hard.
Welcome to the brawl of champions.
Of course, we have to listen to this guy
Choose your
talk.
fighter and lead them to glory.
We may have to play more than 3 games here if we can't win. So I think we won with this girl before, so we keep that in mind. Next we have a game on Steam called Dangerous Orbit. It's just an Asteroids clone, like so many other Asteroid clones. I don't know why people even put these on sale. $3.99. Yeah, I have no idea. I'd like to know if there's some region out there that even really loves Asteroid clone games. Alright. Cost 1 less for each mana you've spent on spells. Well, that might work later, but I don't think I want to hold on to it throughout the whole game. Or do I? Let's just hold on to it. That's a different strategy, certainly. Gematsu has an article. Nippon Ichi Software and Acquire announced a survival adventure game to all of mankind. It's called, quote, To All of Mankind for PS4 and Switch, and it's been updated. This looks like it's probably set in a bit of a post-apocalyptic world. Right. After you cast a spell on a friendly minion, cast a copy of it on this one. Interesting. Spells cost half instead of mana.
Job done.
Okay. So we can do a bit of a web peek. Here's you've got this collection of anime girls, and you can see in the background a lot of grass growing through the streets and on the buildings. So that's the general idea I'm getting from it, at least.
Everyone has demons.
Yeah, the concept is girls surviving in a somehow ruined Akihabara, which, like, is weird, certainly. Like, I don't know if there would be anything about Akihabara once it's ruined that would make any difference. Alright, let's do this. Alright, so I can do this and this next turn. Meanwhile, we can choose not to attack this guy because I don't want him to die and beef up his cards. Although if I killed him now and beefed up his cards, at least that'd be one less card. I'm trying to see if there's it will come out on May 30th. It's probably somewhat of a strategy game and less of a visual novel, looking at the interface. So it's kind of sad. By default, everything is assumed to be a visual novel from Japan, but heck, that's probably the right move. Wind Fury! And Wind Fury again. There we go. That's almost game over right there. He's 3 short.
Job done.
Gematsu has another article. Altair Lula demo included with the February 21st due to issue of The February 21st due issue of Weekly Famitsu. Famitsu being probably the best known, most prominent Japanese video game magazine that scores games. So the demo is coming in the magazine. That's not something that is particularly still happening in the United States. There's really not too much you would do as with magazines these days to advertise a game.
Be sure to come back next week for a new challenge.
So that was 3 of 20 spells we needed to do. So we've already won, but we still need to play 2 more games. So moving forward, see, if next week was only limited to people who won this week, it would be really unfair to let people who have already won continue to play and win, because then you're knocking out your competition. But then I guess it's still kind of fair because people who lose are not getting knocked out. Otherwise I would have been knocked out too on the first loss. So yeah, I guess all's fair in love and war. Might be the way this just happens. To continue that, Altair Lulua, the Scion of Arland, is due out for the PS4 and Switch on March 20th in Japan, and the PS4, Switch, and PC March 21st in North America, and May 21st and May 24th in Europe. So there's a pretty big gap there. I was like, wait a minute, that sounds like they're only releasing the game like 1 day early. Okay, Beast. I'd have to summon a Beast, which I don't have any, so let's just do this and do this, and in return, and this just does deal 2 damage to enemy hero. So probably should have played this on the 3rd turn with the coin. And see, I don't see how I'm gonna have a weapon equipped. Let's see, if your hero power costs 0 whenever it kills the minion, refresh it. Jeez. That was a waste there. Gamma Sutra has an article. Longtime exec Jim Ryan tapped to be Sony Interactive's new CEO. So Jim Ryan is now the new CEO, and the current CEO is effectively swapping roles, and so John Condera is now becoming the deputy CEO, or which is what Jim Ryan was. So I don't know why you would ever do that. That just looks bad, like a bad leadership point. That's what really bad companies do, where they just shift around people on the board and give them different jobs because none of them are doing anything anyways, and they just want to make it look like they got a promotion. But effectively, John Cadera has just gotten a demotion. I mean, you really cannot be in any other position but the CEO if you are the CEO and not call it a demotion.
On my
Let's see. We'll kind of have to just wait and see. Like, Sony is not going to be at E3, so maybe there's like a Gamescom or some other point, Tokyo Game Show, that might be somewhere around here that might might give them an opportunity to announce something new and show their hand a little bit and get people hyped for what 2019 and 2020 will look like for Sony. Majorly, you want to see an announcement or at least a tease of what the PlayStation 3 looks like. If that doesn't happen, then we're in a bad position. Well, Sony will be in a bad position, certainly. Gematsu has the same article. Sony Interactive Entertainment appoints Jim Ryan as president and CEO. Jim Ryan and John Kodera switch places. Like, the only thing I could think is if it was John Kodera who asked them to switch places, but then why not have him come out and say, I'm gonna step down because I need more time for my family, or whatever the lie is that they usually use for that. This next story is crazy from Gematsu. Starbreeze has sold back the rights, the publishing rights of System Shock 3 to the Other Side Entertainment. Starbreeze is to be reimbursed for the development cost. So this is just like weird, because you know Starbreeze spent money on that and was not just trying to make profit. They wanted to make a System Shock 3 and they wanted it to be good. Like, they acquired the publishing rights in 2017 and partially have been financing the development in 2017. So this is really a vote of no confidence as far as the Other Side Entertainment actually making System Shock 3, which I'm not sure if the Other Side Entertainment is the same group that is making the System Shock remake, or not. Let's see. Starbreeze still maintains the publishing rights to the upcoming Psychonauts 2 from Double Fine and 10 Crowns from Mohawk Games. A release date for System Shock has yet to be announced. See, I don't think it was Other Side Entertainment that is making the System Shock remake, and also I'm not sure that the System Shock remake is in great shape to come out and be an amazing success either. And yeah, there kind of needed to be a full-on reboot, and there sort of is that and there sort of isn't. Okay, what's this one? At the end of your turn, gain the attack equal to your hero's attack. Okay, so we're gonna want to give our hero attack damage every turn we can. So that means your hero has to have a some attack even after he attacks at the end of turns, and they do. That's always been the case. It's just never really mattered before. Gematsu has an article, a game called Shin Okubo based game studio is hiring motion designer for an idle type PS4. Maybe we'll do a little bit of a web peek here and just show this name, Shin Okubo. And there's some logos here. So they're looking for somebody who can motion capture, in particular, like a pop idol, Japanese, probably girl, probably a girl idol, not a boy band, because there's not a lot of hype for boy bands in Japan compared to the girl bands. There's definitely no crossover multi-gendered bands. We need our hero's attack to get higher. And how are we going to do that? Can we heal anything? Not really. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Sean Layden, the world has changed, but E3 hasn't necessarily changed it. End quote. The Sony Interactive Entertainment chairman offers insight as to why the company is skipping E3, suggesting the show no longer is no longer effective for retail or press. There's definitely some truth to that, but the first person who blinked on that is going to look weak, and that first person to blink, well, was Nintendo, but they were weak and they didn't care. Now it is Sony. Meanwhile, for the next 4 or 5 years, you can have it be a scenario where Microsoft and the third-party publishers are going to continue to go to E3 and use it as a place to promote their games and their products, and point at how bad Sony is doing because they can't even be bothered to show up. Like, the only way this would have worked well for Sony to leave E3 is if they convinced everybody else to leave E3, at least Microsoft. Like, that would have been the big one that you would have wanted to convince to leave. Is Microsoft almost certainly wouldn't do that. Now, we're on the European account, so the cards I get here have a good chance of being new. Again, though, new commons with one new rare is not helpful. And honestly, even the classic cards have a decent chance of being new. Let's see if we can find what the new cards are. This is the new card there. And then this is probably not a new card. We do have a decent amount of... yeah, that's not new. We do have a decent amount of dust. So as soon as the new expansion happens, we're in potential to a good place to craft more cards if they're needed, according to HS Dark Deck Tracker or whatever the website is called. HSReplay.net, I think, might be it. I need to play spells and I need to draw cards. That probably means Tempo Mage, if I was to guess, so let's just play Tempo Mage. TechRaptor has an article. Subnautica Below Zero shows promise but lacks content in early access. I thought maybe I'd get around to playing Subnautica. There's still a chance of that, but as it kind of fades through memory, and if they also manage to not really release a very good sequel, it will start to lose relevancy pretty quick. Yeah, I can see nobody really caring about it. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Big Ben acquires publishing right from 2 Cyanide titles. Following last year's acquisition, publisher adds Tour de France and Pro Cycling Manager to its portfolio. Those are not interesting games to me, certainly. Those both sound like games that you would have had made from, I think, the creators of, what is that? Styx. That game Styx, yeah. They made a lot of pro cycling games. I'm just gonna wait.
What to do?
Wait, and wait. Yeah, Cyanide, I think, actually might be the developer of Styx. come to think of it. So yeah, that's an inside baseball story, kind of, but it means a little bit. Let's see, we've got a game on Steam called Little Red's Forest Fun. Clearly this is a child slide puzzle pipes game. Very mobile looking in its number of levels. $2.99 discounted. And this is a publisher I've not heard of before, but there's a pack here of 17 games for $13.20, or 52 games for $26.22. So these are probably not really worth the effort types of games for mobile, well, particularly for
We have many secrets.
For PC gaming. That's what I'm trying to say. PC gaming, yeah. Yay, yay, rah, rah, PC gaming. There's something else I just thought of, though. And now I've forgotten it.
Well
So
played.
it must have not been that important. Let's move on. Gamma Sutra has probably the same article. Sony saw laden on making fewer PlayStation games, quote, while spending more energy on them. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, I'm not even sure what first-party titles have been made in recent memory. Well,
For Dalaran.
I can do that. I can do that. I can do this. And that's about all I can do. Yep. So yeah, you can read that Gamma Sutra article if you're interested. GameIndustry.biz has an article. It's a little bit out of date now. Activision Blizzard reportedly shutters King's Seattle studio. And then it says, update, King's communication manager confirms that Seattle and San Francisco's studios have been closed. So King, the makers of Candy Crush, I believe, have had two major blows, if not all of their studios have been closed at this point. I didn't know Activision Blizzard even owned King. So that might even be a way you could twist that announcement to be a good thing, because that means maybe more of the AAA developers that make the AAA games that most people care about are keeping their jobs in favor of the mobile developer King getting the boot instead. That's a rough way to look at it, certainly, but that might be the only way you could polish that turd, I suppose would be the phrase. But I can't remember it accurately, certainly. I think there was one of the developers of Portal 1 that worked at DigiPen, one of those students that got hired by Valve, went on to be like, she went on to be like the CEO of King. She probably, in the time since that happened, left King. Otherwise, she's kind of done not too well for herself. Although, to be fair, the other people that probably got hired on at Valve have not done much at Valve either. None of those people who made Portal 1 were given the opportunities, unfortunately, to even work on continuing their career and make great games. at best case scenario, unless somebody I don't know of left Valve and went on to work on another AAA game, those students stayed at Valve and kind of worked on Portal 2, and maybe they're working on Artifact now, or they worked on Artifact. So yeah, that's another thing that is a problem in general with any industry in cronyism, is if you're just hiring people because they worked at another company, then you very possibly are taking up a spot where somebody could have been promoted and could have been hired out of college, could have furthered their career. The truth of it is, people don't get raises, they don't get promotions as much as they should in any industry, and some of that is because other people are getting hired out from positions. People don't want to hire internally, quite often for random stupid reasons. Moving on, GameIndustry.biz has an article. Esports is now officially a profession in China. Of course, knowing the Chinese government, it could be unofficially a profession again very quickly. They still are not really showing a great enthusiasm for esports. Apparently in China you have to have formal recognition to have a job title, which also seems crazy. Compared to the United States, where you write down your occupation on your taxes, you can write anything you want there if you want it. It really doesn't matter. It might come up if you're being audited, but it's never been like the US government, to my mind, had official titles and terms. Like, I've been called, I think, an operator at least 2 different jobs, and I was doing completely different things whatsoever under those titles. And in IT in general, being called a tech can mean anything, basically. Yeah, but the subtitle on this article is Esports Operator and Esports Professional, formally recognized by the Chinese government. This is the China's Ministry of Human Resources and Social Security announced it will recognize 15 new professions, including 2 related to esports. Interesting. That is an interesting system there. It may not mean anything, though. It probably doesn't, in all fairness. I'm sure there was esports professionals and esports operators before this recognition, and it wasn't too much of a big deal. Although, getting passports and being allowed in other countries as an esports professional or as an esports manager has been difficult, I've heard, for some people, depending on what country they're going to. Because it's just like nobody wants to recognize it as a thing.
Starlight.
Just kill that. Gamer Sutra has an article. THQ Nordic to acquire Kingdom Come Deliverance developer for $37.5 million. So that is the well, actually it's THQ Nordic's wholly owned subsidiary Koch Media has agreed to acquire it from Warhorse. So there's not only are they growing too big too fast, in my opinion, at this point they're also getting complicated in how they're growing, because they've got THQ Nordic has like 3 different companies at least under its title as subsidiaries, and it feels like some of those subsidiaries are not on the same page or direct control of THQ Nordic, so the integration process seems not to have been finished if it even started. If I was the CEO of a company and I acquired somebody, I would make it very clear from the beginning that that I'm in charge and you're going to do things the way I say going forward. And we probably would fully restructure and lay off a lot of people in the acquisition. And that's not anything people want to hear, but it's what happens, whether it happens a year later after the acquisition or the day after. Gamasutra has an article, for Activision giving up Destiny 2 was the result of, quote, missed financial expectations. So Activision Blizzard, like so many AAA developers, just not happy, or the shareholders are just not happy with making a lot of money. They have to make all the money, to quote Jim Sterling. There's a level of insanity. Every quarter it has to make more money. I truly believe that is the case for some of these companies, and frankly it's just a great argument of staying private or going private if you're a public company, which might be the end of what Activision Blizzard does. Is if they lay off a bunch of employees and they make their company look undesirable and they tank their share prices, maybe then they could do some stock buyback. That being said, if that also is probably illegal to purposely tank your share prices so you can buy the company back, particularly lying to shareholders is illegal. Gematsu has an article. Zenkai Zero Last Beginning has been delayed to April 9th in North America. Zenkai Zero, I think, is a dungeon crawler game where the dungeon crawler, like visual novel game, I think, where the players, I think, are clones representing the 7 deadly sins, it says, and they have infinite lives, so they die over and over again. Yeah, they say it's an RPG, according to the tags here. I've gotten little bits and pieces about it, but I'd like to see it actually in play. It's coming out for the PS4 and PC via Steam on the April 9th now. It was announced to come out on March 19th. It's not uncommon for a Japanese company, though, to delay their games. ZeniMax Careers, I wasn't going to point out all the people that said they're hiring, but ZeniMax Careers said they were hiring, and I thought that in particular was kind of funny. Yeah, like, talk about from the frying pan directly into the fire, working for ZeniMax. Which, you know, ZeniMax is Bethesda, and so you would then be working on Fallout 76 or something along that line, or Elder Scrolls Online, maybe the unannounced Starfield, the Starfield game that I guess isn't unannounced, otherwise I wouldn't know the name of it. The space game that they're working on. Come on. What's going on here? the game has decided to kind of crash on me and it's not responding anymore. Guess I could click over here. I could click on this again. But apparently we've got to disconnect or something, so hopefully I'm still streaming. Otherwise I'm just recording. So let's just keep going forward while we wait for this to decide what it's going to do. I really can't do anything other than Control-Alt-Delete this. Australian publishing, Gamma Sutra has an article, Australian publishing partner 18.2 has been acquired by THQ Nordic. I think this might be a good acquisition, even though I'm critical of THQ Nordic acquiring things. Owning a Australian publisher for any game developer is probably a smart move because it's so difficult to get games rated and available for sale in Australia. That doesn't sound like a bad idea at all. I may not be able to play here at all for the rest of this game, and we'll just have to wait until we lose, and hopefully it will reset itself at that point. See. Alright, we're back. We're back in business. I cannot play this card. Interesting. So these two cards are just glitched. Wow, this is bad even for Hearthstone. TechRaptor has an article. Fire Emblem 3 Houses could be getting a delay. There's a Nintendo Direct. So that might happen at the Nintendo Direct. It might not. It really wouldn't matter to me much one way or the other. TechRaptor has another article. Activision Blizzard financial results reveal record-breaking numbers. Call of Duty campaign returning. So in the middle of all these layoffs, their numbers are better than ever, and yet they're still laying people off. And I need to play one more spell card, so one more game. There's a long quote here I could say, but yeah. For the quarter ending December 31st, 2018, the company hit 2.38 billion net revenues, much higher than the 2017 2.04 billion. Digital channels made up around 1.79 billion of this. So, like, the truth here is this is a great example of where we need employee protection laws, we need unions. Frankly, we don't need unions as much as we would need a government to come in and say, no, Activision Blizzard, you cannot fire these people while you're making more money than ever. Yeah, I don't know any other way to really fix this kind of just naked, blatant greed that is being showcased here. In this article, it says Hearthstone continues to make Blizzard money, and it's a screenshot of some gameplay mode that I don't think I've even played. It must be like Dungeon Escape or some kind of tavern brawl thing that I missed. It's like it says 9 turns to escape, and you're on this rail cart. And you're trying to get to the exit, so I don't recall seeing anything like that. There's the whole Diablo Immortal thing, but after the whole Diablo Immortal thing, and all these layoffs, BlizzCon is probably, rightfully so, should not be attended at all by anybody. Like, if you're going to BlizzCon this year, I think you probably need to rethink your priorities a little bit. Gamatsu has an article. Trials Rising open beta is set for February 21st to 24th. It includes 18 tracks, 5 bikes, and more. If that interests you, Trials Rising is due out for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC February 26th. I probably still have a lot of news, but I may just kind of go through news and leave some games for Friday too, if we can get all these daily quests done. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna be a little bit busy today, transferring over everything from my phone. I'm kind of happy to go from a Samsung S7 to an S9. I really would like to get to the point, since these phones are coming out about once a year or even less, I'd like to go from the S9 to the S12. Okay, my hard drive is out of space. Ooh, that's a problem. Let's see. So we're recording. We need to manage the storage, and 0 bytes are free. So unless I can clean up some storage real quick, I have just corrupted the video too. There we go. So
let's see.
Part of the problem with this is it said it was 0 bytes free. It should be less than 0 bytes free now, but I don't know.
Let's see.
So I don't know if that fixed that or if this is just a cropped video. I didn't check, and I didn't realize I was almost out of storage. If this is corrupt, whatever, I guess I'll download the video and re-upload it, or just skip it. In general, today's kind of an important day. Wow, somebody just got a legendary. That must explain this part too. This game is probably messed up because of amount of a hard drive space. I need to buy a bigger SSD. I'd like to potentially get more of a bigger SSD if I can. TechRaptor has an article. Pokemon Go unveils enhanced photo mode, which I doubt is going to turn Pokemon Go into Pokemon Snap, but it would be interesting if it did. Although I'm not sure if you could really turn Pokemon Go into Pokemon Snap, and I'm not sure if people even really want to play Pokemon Snap. Like, you were on rails with Pokemon Snap, so you'd have to make a whole new system to make Pokemon Go work that way. I think probably the advanced photo mode is really nothing more than just taking your Pokemon and overlaying them on real-world backgrounds. Game Sutra has an article. Amy Henning sees a social future for storytelling games. Amy Henning was the one who wrote, I think, all of the Uncharted games, and then got hired by EA to make visceral Star Wars games, and then really didn't succeed there, and they canceled her game, and I don't think she's working for EA anymore, which is kind of a shame, because Amy Henning is one of the top 3 most prominent, most successful females in the video game industry, and she hasn't really had a great time in the industry lately, and I don't think any of it is really her fault, although it might be. I mean,
let's see.
They kind of promoted her to a point where I think she could easily fail, because she was like a writer, and then I think she was a director on the Star Wars game. I guess what we need to do is just concede this and see what that does.
Let's see.
That's not gonna work. Let's just quit. And let's see. Now I'm saying it. Let's go ahead and empty the recycling bin. And let's launch the European account again and see where that puts us. TechRaptor has an article, Beholder 2 review, where's your 27B/6? I'm not sure I'd ever really want to play Beholder 1 or 2, but I have a slight interest in it, I guess. There we go. We played the spells. Alright, so that's everything we needed to do on the European account. And then we can move over to the Asian account. And let's just, the show must go on. So what is the verdict for Beholder 2 from TechRaptor? They gave it an 8.5 great. Whether you're a fan of adventure games, the dystopian genre, or looking for to spice up your evening with simulated paperwork, Beholder 2 is sure to please. The plot may be predictable, but that's easy to overlook in the face of superb character writing. Pros, charming art style. Apparently I had already done this. And apparently I just exited straight out after doing that daily quest. I don't want to play 3 dragons, so we'll play 25 spells for less gold. That sucks. Yeah, the pros for Beholder 2 are charming art style, amazing character writing, unique currency system, and branching outcomes. The cons are predictable plot and formulaic gameplay. We were going to play this one. These bottom 3. TechRaptor has the same article. THQ Nordic acquires Warhorse Studios, developer of Kingdom Come Deliverance. Gamasutra has the similar article. Significant layoffs at Activision Blizzard. It's around 800. Nobody really knows. At the bottom of this it says this is a developing story. We'll update with more details as they become clear, which is basically to say we'll never be able to make this clear. Summon copies of all the demons you control. That might be interesting. I'll hold on to that. We already talked about this, I believe, but TechRaptor has the article. Activision is offering Guitar Hero Live refunds for purchasers. There seems to be like a cutoff date, so it's like the beginning of December 1st, 2017 to January 1st, 2019 would have to have been the time in which you purchased Guitar Hero 3. Which random demon? Oh, I wouldn't want to do that. So then there's kind of nothing I can do this turn. Darn it. The reason why they're giving the Guitar Hero Live refund is because the online streaming service of it, they shut down. The International Game Developers Association has an executive director blog article called Helping Those Impacted by Layoffs. Let's see. Apparently they're giving free listings on their Career Center website to I didn't even know the IGA did this, where they have a career website. So I guess if you want to work in the video game industry, you have to go through the IGDA, or at least they think you do. Yeah, talk about greedy though. Here's some eye-expanding things. A basic posting of a job on the Career Center is $299. A resume purchase is $35. So I imagine what a resume purchase is that you found somebody who matches and you want to hire that person and get their information. But let's see. Do I want to do this? Let's do this. And then do this.
Everyone has demons.
And then do this. And do
Everyone
this.
has demons.
And then return. An enhanced posting is $399, so you know these prices are just made up. And a if you're an IGA Studio affiliate, you get up to 40 free resume purchases before you charge $35 for it. So, like, what a racket. That really sounds like a racket when you consider, you know, Microsoft runs LinkedIn and they own that now, and you can just put your resume on LinkedIn, and that's what I think most people do. Summon copies of all of your minions. I'd love to do that, but I can't. Transforms a random minion in their hand into a demon.
I can ease your pain.
Fascinating.
Let's hit this.
Fascinating.
Hit this. TechRaptor has an article. Tomorrow's Nintendo Direct promises news on Fire Emblem Three Houses. That's all we really know. Gamasutra has an article. Ubisoft partners with Mozilla on AI coding assistant Clever Commit, which that might be something that's useful in the long run, but it's certainly not going to show up in the next Assassin's Creed game, I would guess, and it won't have any real impact on any games coming out in the next couple of years. But you always have to look forward for these things. What is this name? Is it just QQQQQ? Alright, keep playing. Remember, we still have to win one of these. Gamatsu has an article. Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition has already shipped over 500,000 copies. 500,000 units, which is pretty good. Definitive Edition launched worldwide for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on January 11th. And certainly I would want to get the Definitive Edition of Tales of Vesperia. Now, not the original version. Gamatsu has an article. Dragon Quest Your Story 3D has been announced. It's a CG movie. It's due out this summer in Japan. It probably won't come out in theaters in any other country, or at least in the West. But it will, I suspect, be kind of just like a kids cartoon movie, and not that interesting. I'm gonna go ahead and skip looking at games for now, and then we may come back and look at them, because we're hitting a point here where doesn't seem like it's gonna do anything. I don't think I'm gonna have enough time to cover all the news, let alone the games. TechRaptor has an article. Metro Exodus review, full steam ahead. Now, I don't blame anybody for not buying Metro Exodus. I think maybe that is the right move at this point. But I have taken a stand where I thought Metro Exodus was probably going to be a bad game, and that's why they decided to be to get that locked-in guaranteed sales on the Epic Store versus selling it on Steam. Because if it was a good game, why not sell it on Steam and get a lot more sales? I guess I'm wrong about that, because TechRaptor has given it a 9.5 amazing, so you either take two things from this. You either take that my taste, or my guess was either my taste is different to TechRaptor's, I don't think that's 100% accurate, or I was just totally wrong, which is probably the case, or you have to assume that TechRaptor is being the shill. And I haven't seen TechRaptor do that, so odds are I was just wrong. And I was just blindly speculating. I've never played a Metro game before in my life. I have no idea what a good one would even look like until I saw it. The summary here on the review is Metro Exodus builds on the gameplay from the previous title and expands it into a much broader world, adding new mechanics and expanding the narrative without padding things too much. Pros: open world gives you more freedom, game-changing weapon customization, more opportunities to explore the stories. Cons are no fire selector on guns, and equipment upgrades are not well explained. So, assuming TechRaptors is in the ballpark, and this is a game that deserves its 9.5 review, I guess if you were confident in your game, there kind of makes some sense to go to the Epic Store exclusivity. But man, that is a lot of confidence, even if your game is great. When I think of something like, well, The Witcher 3, had that been a good old games only exclusive, that probably would not have sold as well. But then again, I guess Nintendo games have been console exclusives, but they do kind of not sell as well. Zelda Breath of the Wild would have sold 3 or 4 times as much had it been on PC and Xbox and PS4.
Break their ranks. There's a customer born every minute.
All right. Let's see. And then we want to give him something that's not helpful.
Job's done.
Yeah, it was a 50-50 shot there, I guess. So, in the long run, exclusivity and the Epic Store shenanigans ignored, it's better for the video game world and industry if Metro Exodus is a good game. It's always better for games to be good. It makes no sense to want a game to be bad or want a game to fail. Maybe in a year a lot of people will buy Metro Exodus and play it. Maybe people will stick to their guns and they'll never play Metro Exodus or any other Metro game. Either one could be true. Perhaps it is better if a 9.5 game that is excellent still fails because of bad business practices, because that eliminates those ridiculous arguments that get made by developers that, oh, the game only failed because of this reason, or the game only failed because of this reason, instead of people being realistic and really telling the truth that it failed because you did something to peeve the people who were buying your game. There we go. I'll be darned if this does not work.
Trust me.
Let's see. Gematsu has an article. Dragon Quest Builders 2 DLC number 1 Japanese style pack launches February 28th in Japan. So I imagine this is just items. Yeah, it's just items and skins to make Dragon Quest Builders, which is not much of a game really. In my opinion, look more Japanese. Which okay. Deal 2 damage to add a random mage spell to your hand for each one of these. Inspire and add a random spell. Inspire summon a 3/5 War Kodo. You can only really do one of these. So let's do this.
Negotiate. You concede, and I'll let you live.
And let's do that.
A new acquisition.
And play a secret.
Trust me.
Kill that. Then end the turn. GameIndustry.biz has an article. THQ Nordic net sales rose 713% to 447.6 million in 2018. The publisher now has 77 games in development, including 48 unannounced projects. A lot of that was through acquisition, certainly, but THQ Nordic cannot even really be legitimately called a small or medium-sized company at this point. They have grown, I would still argue, grown too fast, too quickly, and grown too big, perhaps in general, but that is where we are at.
Break their ranks.
Deal 2 damage on minions. And do this.
A new acquisition.
Nice.
A new acquisition.
And that.
Chance.
Gematsu has an article, I think we already talked about this, trying to complete story. Nope, we didn't talk about this. Trying to complete story for the Switch launches February 18th. The Trine Series 1 through 3 physical edition launches this spring. So I don't know why you'd specifically want to just get Trine 2 complete story unless you already had Trine 1. Trine 3 I don't think is particularly good, so you could ignore that, but since they're bundling all the games together, you might as well get them all. I haven't gotten around to playing Trine. I'd be willing to do it. I don't think I own it, but I might. At this point, I may own anything and everything.
Such big teeth.
All I need to do is survive to next turn and I'll win. By the way, Gamasutra Layden recalls the PS3 Icarus moment, looks ahead to expanding the PlayStation's audience. That's the new CEO of Sony. We've already talked about him. And victory. Techcrafter has an article. The Sonic Mania the Sonic Mania developer co-founds a new studio. So you need to play one more Tavern Brawl. Let's go ahead and do that. So this is Kristen Whitehead, one of the developers of Sonic Mania, has co-founded a new studio known as the Evening Star, based in Los Angeles, California. Let's see. The developer is famous for his work on numerous Sonic projects, including phone ports of the popular Genesis type titles, as well as the most recent official entry in the series was Sonic Mania Plus. So yeah, he was making unofficial fan Sonic games, and they finally, Sega just hired him on, but to make Sonic Mania Plus, but clearly he didn't stay there that long, so he's moving on. And I would think probably at this point he is ready to move to something besides Sonic, even if it's a somewhat similar Sonic style game. What was this? After you cast a spell, add a random pre-spell to your hand. This would make pre-spells cheaper. Let's do this.
Job's done.
And return. So
Welcome to the show.
I could play this and do 3 damage to all other minions if I want to. Got nothing to do. Gamatsu has an article, Days Gone, Sarah and Deacon's wedding trailer. This is, I don't know this game Days Gone, but it's a kind of intriguing wedding picture we have here where if you got tattoos, you got tattoos, and so hiding a sleeve for your wedding day is gonna be kind of hard. You could make up it all though. But this guy is not tucked in his shirt, he's wearing jeans and he's wearing a leather biker jacket and a backwards baseball cap, so pretty trashy looking wedding, and I imagine that is what they're going for. I imagine if I was to watch this trailer, which we really don't have time for, it's rated M for mature. Is Days Gone the horror game with like the butterfly effect? It's the spiritual successor to that.
Welcome to the big show.
Yeah, I think it might be. Well, I forget the name of what that game was though. It was a PlayStation exclusive.
There's a customer aboard.
Yeah. No, Days Gone is the zombie game that just looks like a generic zombie game. It could be good, but it's gotta be pretty good to interest anybody these days. GameIndustry.biz has the same article. Ubisoft partners with Mozilla on an AI coding assistant. Clever comment promises to quickly identify and fix bugs from code changes, which that would be great for programmers, I'm sure, but it's also a little unbelievable. Don't have enough. Just don't have enough here. TechRaptor has an article, how to get all the secret movies from all Kingdom Hearts games, which is just a list of text on how to unlock it. It would be easier by far to simply put all those videos on a playlist on YouTube. And I don't know how important any of the videos in any Kingdom Hearts game is, but I imagine not much. Alright. Play this. There we go. GameIndustry.biz has an article, Epic Games files for the dismissal of 2 Millie's Fortnite dance lawsuit. Developer insists dance routines are an, quote, unprotectable idea, and claims the rapper's complaint, I guess is what it's supposed to say, is, quote, at odds with free speech. And unfortunately, I think Epic is going to win that one and get the dismissal, or not get the dismissal, but maybe win the case in the long run. Which Epic certainly is in the wrong. They definitely, in their hearts, know they stole things that they had no right to. But legally, I think they're in a good position to win. Let's see. Hit this to make sure it doesn't gain any health. load. Gamatsu has an article, Cult Canyon Wild West pixel art shooter with roguelike elements has been announced for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. This is what it looks like. That really doesn't show me much, though. It's got a video here. We'll see. I'll watch the trailer and see if that gives me any idea. Yeah, it looks like it's probably a top-down pixel graphics, Western kind of RPG. No, it's more of a twin-stick shooter. Yeah, I don't see anything here that really interests me other than maybe the fact that it's being made or published by Head Up Games. I'm not sure. But I'm trying to move fast here, so let's move on. What are we trying to do? Summon 1/1 copies of 2 friendly Death Rattle minions. I don't have any friendly Death Rattle minions. Death Rattle, summon that. Choose a friendly minion, summon a 5/5 copy of it. Let's.
Thank you.
There we go. Gamatsu has an article, Xenon Racer City Showcase Miami and Tokyo trailer. Look at the Miami seaside and the Tokyo downtown and more. This is a racing game of some sort. You can just see the track here and nothing really else. I'll watch the trailer.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gamatsu is pretty good about having it one screenshot and one video, and that's it. Yeah, Xenon Racer looks like it's slightly futuristic cars on tracks, and that's kind of it, with some interesting tracks and decorations on the sides of tracks, but doesn't look like you really have flying cars or anything F-Zero-ish. It's still tires on the road. GameIndustry.biz has the same article we've already talked about. We've talked about a lot of articles today. Activision Blizzard's split with Bungie was because Destiny was, quote, was not meeting financial expectations, which of course were too high. Let's do this. Game Sutra has an article, following Activision Blizzard layoffs, King shuts down its mobile studio Z2 Live. So that's a little bit more information for the story.
Thank you.
Let's just be quiet. Right, games, before we take on, quote, before we take on football, we have to be humble. The League of Legends European Championship makes less revenue than a German second division football team, writes Albin Deschalot said to the esports bar Cons yesterday, which is an interesting thought there that we had already won, so we just kind of need to play spells and take turns after this. That League of Legends is even contemplating that they're anywhere close to like second to German European football, soccer, as it were. Yeah, I don't really have faith that League of Legends would ever get that popular, or frankly that any esport would ever get that popular. So one of those cards was new, and we've got a bunch of glitch things that think they're new that aren't new. So put my keyboard back where it's supposed to be, and now I'm looking in the wrong direction. Yeah, that in no way is new. This we can't disenchant because we don't have any regular versions of it. This isn't new. This is new. And these are not new. This is kind of a pathetic thing to admit, but I finally got around to watching the new FLCL series anime. Like, this doesn't have anything to do with video games, but so FLCL, progressive FLCL alternate. I'd heard people review them and say that they were unnecessary and just kind of generic. I found alternate to be a better story, but not really in any way the same vein. Ooh, 2 epics as the original FLCL, which the original FLCL is only like 6 episodes, I believe. And it's kind of just like a perfect story that did not need anything new done to it. And these new ones came out years and years and years after the original run, and they were funded by Toonami, and Toonami, of course, have been making a lot of money from that stuff. Wow, one of those epics is also redundant, so that'll get us some more dust, which would be helpful because we are a little low in dust for this one, for the European account. And the reason I watched them is because I'm trying to clean off my dish DVR so that I can potentially send it back and replace it with a new one before the hard drive fails. I've had it for so many years. It's not a simple thing of just taking out an old hard drive and putting in a new one. They wouldn't let you do that. But that also goes to show that's kind of the only thing that was on that hard drive from years ago that I hadn't watched, and everything else is like the amount of TV that has interested me has gone down to basically 0. That being said, Netflix, I did watch like Vampire Knight, so I am slowly swinging back into kind of an anime fandom. I doubt it's going to get anywhere as ravenous as it was originally. And even then, that I still have DVDs and Blu-rays that I haven't watched, so if I did get into it, it would just cut into the recording time I spend recording games, which might be mentally healthy for me to not spend all of my time recording and playing video games, but I doubt I'd even get into that. But I can promise this YouTube channel is not going to ever turn into like an anime review channel, because of the main thing that those channels get content ID'd and copyrighted claimed all the time, even if you're using no footage. Let's get back to news, because we were trying to rush here. Gematsu has an article, Media Create Sales the 4th through the 10th of February. Arc of Alchemist opens at 3,328 retail sales. Reason why we want to potentially pay attention to these sales is because this is like Japanese sales. So software sales, it's like New Super Mario Bros. U at 1, and Kingdom Hearts 3 at 2, Super Smash Bros. At 3, Resident Evil 2 at 4, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eve combined at 5, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 6, Super Mario Party bundle version included at 7, Minecraft Nintendo Switch Edition at 8, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at 9, Splatoon 2, then Ace Combat 7, then Dragon Quest Builders 2, then Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix, then 14 is Arc of the Alchemist, 15 is Super Mario Odyssey, 16 is Fitness Boxing, 17 is Nelky and the Legendary Alchemists, and 18 is Dragon Quest Builders 2. Again, I guess that's the PS4 version. The other one must have been a different version. Let's see if I can roll back up here and find it. It's the Nintendo Switch version, sold way better than the PS4 version. Then Kirby Stars Allies, and then PUBG is at 20. As far as hardware sales, it's the Switch, then the PS4, then the PS4 Pro, then the new 2DS LL, then the PlayStation Vita, which is weird, then the new 3DS LL, then the 2DS, then the Xbox X, and when we get here, the Xbox X sold 129 hardware units. Literally 129. And the Xbox One solely sold 16. So Xbox still is not selling. Thing to take from the Japanese sales list here is Nintendo is definitely king. And while Sony and the PS4 are getting some sales here on the list, it is mostly Japanese RPGs or very Japanese-centric style games that are selling well. Not anything that looks like a first-party Sony game or anything along that lines. Gametsu has an article, Layton's Mystery Journey, Cottrell and the Millionaire's Conspiracy Deluxe Edition has been rated in Germany. An enhanced Switch version is seemingly headed westward, which is cool. Like more Professor Layton games coming out in the West is what I'd like to see.
Job's done.
Just trying to play spells. I don't think I played enough of them. Gamma Sutra has the same article. Activision Blizzard reports historic financial gains amid major layoffs. We've been all over that story. Gamatsu has a game called Memories Off Innocent Fillet for Dearest opening movie. This is probably a visual novel. Yes, it is. So we can do a quick web peek. Here's the name, Memories Off, Innocent Fillet for Dearest. And here's your anime girls, and then there's an opening movie here. I think this has something to do with music. Sounds like it does. It's for a visual novel, but it's a visual novel. And I'm just skipping all the games. And we lost, but we need 5 more spells. So, Gamma Sutra has an article, Get a Job, Nintendo of America is hiring a product marketing manager in Redmond, Washington. Interesting. TechRaptor has an article, Axis and Allies Online will bring World War board gaming to PC. So that'll be interesting when that happens, I suppose, maybe. Gamma Sutra has a similar article, E3 has lost its impact in changing the industry, says Sony's Sean Layden. Feels like Sean Layden is maybe not the he's the Worldwide Studios chairman, not the CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment. So there's been a lot of people this week from some part of Sony saying stuff, and it's overlapping the message. Nobody's controlling the narrative well. You'd really only want one of your major people to say something and have impact there. Alright, and that puts me at the Humble Bundle store because I'm skipping all the games. Humble Bundle wants me to enable 2-factor authentication. Let me think about that. Probably not a bad idea. But let's see. Come on, spells. Add 2 minions. We need 4 more spells. Let's see. Looking at the Humble Bundle, there's a great Game Maker Games bundle is new. Let's see. And we'll just use the web peek to show these You can get pay what you want. You have to pay $1 if you want a Steam code. Cook, Serve, Delicious, and Black Hole. Pay more than the average, which is already rather high, of $8.37. You get Kingsway, Cook, Serve, Delicious 2, Kuso, Solstice, and pay more than $12. You get Alone With You, Rivals of Aethar, Way of the Passive Fist, Crashlands, Soft Body, 12 is better than 6, and Don't Sink. Besides Cook, Serve, Delicious here, I don't know any of these games, so that doesn't look like much of a deal to me. I guess I can look and see if there's another bundle that's worth mentioning. Not really. So I'm just gonna start back here and we'll look at games and try to knock down some of these games as we're playing. So we have a game on Steam called Eastshade. Looks like it might be a point-and-click adventure. I'm seeing just a lot of backgrounds though, so it says it's an exploration open world, it's atmospheric game. So it's almost maybe like a Myst game if it had puzzles, but it might just be exploration. $21.24 and single player, full audio in English. I'll put this on the follow list. It's already got some positive reviews.
I wonder.
So yeah, there's really no reason not to put it on the follow list. This, and this. Next we have a game on Steam called Sky Changer with no spaces, Air Combat 2. This certainly seems like it is trying to be a clone of Ace Combat 7. It's 89 cents discounted. It's basically a joke of a game. Yeah. Even if it played really well, it's not visually appealing for what a flight sim game would be, and I just cannot abide such low effort names. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Fear Simulator, which is probably nothing. It's just some assets of things that might be spooky, like hydrophobia and arachnophobia and like being afraid of heights, whatever that one's called. $6.29 in VR. Like, even if this is that game I've heard people talking about that's designed to help people with phobias, this does not look good. And certainly it's not something that I think can be appreciated in general. If it's a medical software for people with severe phobias, that's fine, but that's not a game. And making yourself jump scare or making yourself afraid is not a level of entertainment that I feel is so unique or so good that it justifies all the other problems a game like that seems to have. Next we have a game on Steam called Neon Infinity, which is just a like 2-player asteroids shooter, side shooter. Looks like the frame rate's pretty bad, and it's doing the neon color graphics, which looks like garbage, and wants 89 cents discounted. Yep, that's not making it to the list. Let's do this. Do this. Do this. And in the turn. Next we have a game on Steam called Rydo, which looks like it's a platformer. It says it's an action adventure game. Might give this one a try. Looks like it's got a bit of an interface, it's got a bit of an animation to it. The animation is going for kind of the flat 2D platforming look. It's a little too dark, for me. It's early access at $9.99. So I think I could put this on the fall list, and then we'll come back when it's out of early access and see what people say about it. Give a minion +2 attack this turn and give the other minions +1 health.
Shiny, lovely
Next, we have a game on Steam called Column Taker, which looks like a mobile game. It's like a 3D Jenga simulation game. Yeah, visually ugly. $8.99 at discount. That's ridiculously expensive, too. Looks like it may only have 6 levels in the entire game. What a joke. What a joke. I could get behind a Jenga simulator, certainly, but I couldn't get behind one that looks horrible and costs way too much. Yep. Next, we have a game on Steam called Vacation Adventures Cruise Director, which is a hidden object game. Although it seems to have a jigsaw puzzle minigame in it too. The main part is hidden object games. $4.99. So we're getting more competition on these hidden object games than we used to. It's no longer just Big Fish Games releasing $12.99 games, but that certainly is still a problem that is happening, and there's still probably too many hidden object games, although it's not terrible. Like there's bigger issues to certainly deal with. See, this is at this point it's going to leave me with a decent amount of games to talk about on Friday, and we may get some more news on Friday. Do we have anything more that we need to do? Just double check to make sure we won the tavern brawl. No. Okay, so yep, I've got work to do transferring data off one phone to the other, and also potentially having a corrupted video file today might be a problem also, so I may have to download the live stream. But yeah, otherwise everything is good enough to be done. We got all the daily quests done, so I think that tomorrow's daily quest won't have dust. If they do manage to have dust for some reason, I probably would do them as quickly as possible, just so we get more dust. But otherwise, Friday we'll wrap everything up, or heck, we may even have some games that wrap around till Monday again. Having a bit of a backlog on games probably isn't a terrible idea. That's it for the stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. Again, apologies to anybody talking in chat. I can't see the chat, so if you ask anything, put it down in the comments and I'll respond there. If you want to further follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.